Okay, let's get right into it. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're building a highly practical research-backed toolkit for anyone trying to manage demanding university coursework while also grinding through part-time shift work. If you're juggling a retail gig, hospitality, or really any rostered job while trying to chase down those high distinctions at uni, well, you already know the very unique, very deep kind of exhaustion that comes with it, right? Today we are absolutely going to transform that chaos into a structured, sustainable system. So take a breath because we have a clear 5-step game plan today. First, the uni and work struggle. 2, managing shift work fatigue. 3, time blocking a realistic schedule. 4, high efficiency study strategies. And finally, 5, mindset and avoiding burnout. Let's hit it. Step 1, the uni and work struggle. Let's actually start by validating exactly why you feel so exhausted. We're looking at the hard science of student burnout here. And look, burnout isn't just being, tired after a long week. According to research on college student well-being, it's a very specific psychological state. It's this heavy combination of emotional exhaustion, a kind of cynical attitude toward your studies or even other people, and this deeply frustrating feeling that you literally cannot achieve your academic goals no matter how hard you try. It's a recognized phenomenon, and it's incredibly common for working students who are constantly juggling novel demands. This happens because of something called the effort-reward imbalance model, or ERI. Basically, burnout strikes when your immense daily effort, think the physical demands of your shifts, the long commute, the endless assignments, when all of that is completely out of proportion with the perceived rewards. If you're pouring out massive amounts of effort, but your grades, your self-esteem, or your future prospects just aren't reflecting that work, that imbalance totally drains your personal resources until you inevitably hit a wall. Moving into step 2, managing shift work fatigue. Now that we understand the burnout risk, we really need to look at how shift work biologically impacts your body. Your body is naturally programmed by a circadian clock in the brain to sleep at night and be awake during the day. It's literally hardwired. In fact, your body temperature and concentration are at their absolute lowest between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. So when you're closing down the bar or doing retail inventory at 3 a.m., you are actively fighting your own biology. This causes symptoms that are super similar to jet lag, creating an ongoing sleep debt that compounds your academic stress and absolutely tanks your ability to focus in your morning classes. So how do we manage it? Well, if you have to work rotating shifts, the direction you rotate changes everything. Research shows it is vastly easier for your body to adapt to a forward rotation. That means moving forward on the clock face, going from a day shift to an afternoon shift to a night shift. For most of us, it's so much easier to stay up a little later and wake up a little later, rather than the backward rotation, which forces you to wake up earlier and earlier, totally crushing your recovery time. To actually survive your roster, you need some strict recovery rules. Based on workplace fatigue guidelines, you should try to avoid shifts starting between midnight and 6 a.m. whenever humanly possible, just to protect your core rest period. You also must fiercely guard at least 2 full consecutive nights of sleep per roster cycle. Keep sequential night shifts to an absolute minimum, and honestly, never ever accept overtime immediately after a night shift. You have to start treating your sleep as a non-negotiable biological necessity, not some kind of luxury. Which brings us to step 3, time blocking a realistic schedule. With those fatigue rules in place, let's organize your very limited hours using a brilliant technique called time blocking. It's essentially a productivity method where you divide your day, or your whole week, into specific dedicated segments, or blocks. It basically merges your calendar and your to-do list into one visual map. And the beauty of time blocking is that it heavily reduces your cognitive load. It takes all the guesswork out of your day and completely discourages unproductive multitasking, which we know just drains your energy even further anyway. Building a realistic week using this method takes 4 precise steps. Step 1, putting your non-negotiable work shifts based on your roster. Step 2, block out your live university classes. Step 3, and listen, this is where almost all students fail. Block your recovery, travel time, and those crucial sleep windows we just talked about. Step 4, only after those are set do you insert your study blocks. This is exactly where you do your assignment planning around your work roster, prioritizing your deadlines, so you are never ever pulling an all-nighter right before an opening shift at work. There's a great quote by computer science professor and productivity author Cal Newport. He estimates that a meticulously time-blocked 40-hour week produces the exact same amount of output as a chaotic 60-plus hour week pursued without structure. And let's be real, when your time is stretched incredibly thin between Hospo shifts and uni, you definitely do not have 60 hours to spare. Time blocking ensures you achieve way more in the exact same amount of time.
All right, step 4. High-efficiency study strategies.
Because your study time is now strictly confined to those specific blocks we just mapped out, we need to upgrade your study techniques. We have to be absolutely ruthless about efficiency here. If you want those high distinctions, the single biggest game changer is abandoning passive learning. I know rereading your textbook or repeatedly highlighting notes feels super productive, but cognitive psychology tells us it's actually highly inefficient. It just builds familiarity, not real mastery. True learning happens through active recall. That's when you close the book and force your brain to retrieve the information from scratch with zero external cues. That mental struggle to remember, that is exactly what strengthens your neural pathways. You also really need to match the right high-efficiency tool to the specific task at hand. If you're memorizing facts or formulas, use active recall with flashcards, or maybe the blurting method where you just write everything you know on a blank page. If you're studying for a big cumulative final, you want to use spaced repetition, which means reviewing material at increasing intervals over a few weeks to beat the forgetting curve. And if you have a really complex exam coming up, use interleaving. That just means mixing up different topics or problem types during a single study session, so your brain learns to actively identify which strategy to use, totally mirroring real exam conditions. And when you finally sit down for those study blocks, use the Pomodoro technique. Work for fixed intervals, usually 25 minutes, followed by a short 5-minute break. Why? Because honestly, a lot of study problems aren't memory problems at all. They're attention problems. If you're totally fatigued from a retail shift, sitting down for a 3-hour marathon will just lead to you staring blankly at a screen. Pomodoro intervals protect your attention. They sustain your effort, and they prevent that immediate exhaustion. Finally, step 5, mindset and avoiding burnout. Look, you can have the absolute best schedule and study techniques in the world, but if your internal resources are depleted, the whole system will just collapse. The best study methods fail if you use them badly, which is why you have to practice metacognition. Essentially, this means stepping back and monitoring your own learning. Ask yourself regularly, what have I actually successfully recalled without my notes this week? Track your performance, not your vibes. Don't rely on the false comfort of reading a chapter and thinking, oh yeah, I know this. Test yourself, honestly rate your confidence, and change up your methods if they just aren't working. But beyond just tactics, how you treat yourself matters immensely. Research shows that self-compassion and adaptive coping flexibility actually negatively predict emotional exhaustion. Basically, that means being kind to yourself when things don't go perfectly is scientifically proven to help prevent burnout. Furthermore, students who have coping flexibility, meaning the ability to adapt their response based on whether a problem is mental, emotional, or social, are scientifically far less likely to experience it. So as you juggle your rosters, your lectures, and those looming deadlines this week, I want to leave you with this metacognitive prompt to really think about. Don't just rigidly apply one single way of dealing with stress. If you're physically exhausted from a long shift, prioritize sleep. If you're emotionally drained, seek out your social support. So ask yourself, are you flexibly adjusting how you cope to match the actual demands being placed on you? Think about it and start building a survival system that allows you to not just survive your degree, but actually thrive.